Welcome to episode 2 of ETS V News. It's the fun and informative TV component to Education Technology Solutions magazine. In this episode, we catch up here in the studio with Blake Seifert about his article in ETS magazine about Australia's first large-scale rollout of Chromebooks. We're also going to have a look at something else that's rolling out, or rather rolling into classrooms everywhere. And then we're going to chat with some of you about the latest trends in education technology.
But first, breaking news from the interweb. So we've come across a brand new site for purchasing IT online, and it's for schools only. Buy It Online is a different kind of website because legally you have to be either on staff at a school or you have to be buying on behalf of a student. But with those stringent conditions comes a lot of convenience for BYOD and one-to-one buyers. It's got an impressive array of everything you need for IT, from laptops and tablets to 3D printers and heaps more, all in one place. Go to buyitonline.computerlect.com.au to check it out. There's a new collaboration box that's about to be available to Australian classrooms in a matter of days, and finally, it's one that gets it right. The Montage allows multiple users to collaborate and share screens. It's designed to cater for multi-platform user devices, and it's designed with touchscreens in mind. And because of its gesture-driven interface, the Montage takes large format touch display to a whole new level. It's set to change the way students engage and interact with content. All it needs is power. Well, that's it from me. Back to you, Bob.
Say what? Who's Bob?
Aren't you Bob?
Nope.
Bob's your uncle?
How did you know that? We're here with Blake Seifert, the Systems Manager at McKinnon Secondary College. Welcome to the show, Blake.
Thanks, Scott. Pleasure to be here.
Blake, before you implemented Chromebooks at McKinnon Secondary College, what were the teachers and students using?
Previous to Chromebooks, we had Windows laptops and a variety of lab computers. So we'd have Macs, PCs, basically access to any sort of computer. But Windows laptops were only at the 11 and 12. They were government-funded devices, and we really needed to make a shift. So we had to move to something. And we looked around, and we were managing these Windows devices with difficulty. To be honest, they were very difficult devices to work with. So we'd look at students coming into the window and asking for help or having issues. We'd have to re-image their whole computer and start from scratch every time. That can take 3 days sometimes to get that job turned around. So we've got kids in class without their devices. And our view is that every child should have an opportunity for excellence at the school. So if they're without their device, then they're without that opportunity for excellence. So that's a real big push for us, and something we take very seriously. And we were looking for a device that would fit that mantra. And for us, it was Chromebooks. So we didn't choose them because they were necessarily the cheapest device on the market. There's certainly that is certainly one of the benefits of it, and it's the reason some schools choose a Chromebook device. But for us, it was really about Chromebooks being a tool that could do most of what most people needed most of the time. Right, so we're not looking for a supercomputer, we're not looking for something that does everything, when the majority of people are just using the internet. So we did some surveying around this, we did some exhaustive surveying around it and finding out what are teachers using and what are kids using. And the majority of it was done on the internet, was done on the web. So why are we giving them this supercomputer to do web-based tasks? So that was really our thinking behind it, and we looked at a device that was going to be sturdy. So we chose, a more sort of sturdy Chromebook, which costs a little bit more than your average Chromebook, and that really allowed us to provide a clear vision for parents on what we were trying to achieve with the Chromebooks, which made the buy-in a lot easier. And then on the flip side of that, the results have really spoken for themselves.
When you say the results have spoken for themselves, what kind of results are we achieving here?
Well, we've been a Google Apps school for about 5 years, and I think that's an important piece of the puzzle as well, is that with Google Apps, that's a big learning curve in itself. So moving everything to the cloud, trying to work online, collaborating, that's a big change for any institution, not just schools. But we're looking at it from a point of view of, well, okay, we've been with Google Apps now, at that point for 3 or 4 years. We were one of the first schools to go Google Apps way back in 2010. And since then, we've just seen meteoric rise of Google Docs and all this sort of stuff. So a Chromebook for us was really a natural extension of what was already happening in the school.
One thing I've heard out there about Chromebooks, I've heard them being panned for being useless offline. What's your response to that?
Offline's interesting. I mean, offline, certainly when we went with Chromebooks, offline was a difficult area. You really needed to be connected to the internet to do most things. But since then, one of the great things about Chromebooks is that Google treats it like any of its products. They're constantly iterating it. Rather than waiting for a big release, they're iterating it, they're making changes progressively throughout the year. So it may not seem like a lot as you're using it, but when you look back over 12 months, you think, wow, they've really changed a lot here. So the big push for me is that we see constant changes, constant improvements, and offline was one of those. So Google Docs being offline, pretty much all the Google suite. In the Google Chrome Web Store, there's actually a category for apps that are specifically for offline use. And a lot more apps are sort of supporting that offline use. And to give you an example, our Year 9 program, we actually go into the city and do some surveying, and some kids actually will take their Chromebooks in offline, put the survey results in, and it all syncs back up online when they get back to school or to their internet connection. So that's sort of the offline component. I don't know, there's probably other factors there as well. If we're talking about the myths around Chromebooks, that they're a useless device, and certainly that's what happened when we implemented them. And implementing them is a task in itself, because you want to make sure that you're very clear about the benefits of them and why the school would be going down that direction. And the grumblings were that, oh, these are these useless devices that we're not going to be able to do anything on or install any apps on. But the reality of it is they're a device that's actually really usable, that's actually easy to get on with and use. So what we find is teachers embracing them a lot more. And for us, in my job, my number one sort of priority is to make sure that teachers are confident with what they're doing, and that they feel like when they walk into a class that every child is with a computer, that they have access to that technology and they can use their lesson plans, use technology inside their lesson plans without really having to think about it too much. Whereas, if you rewind 2 or 3 years ago, they'd be thinking, oh, some kids aren't going to have their laptops. What am I going to do with those kids who haven't bought their device? And all those kind of issues arise. So we look after a pool of spares to deal with that, and we'll loan out devices for any reason, basically. We want to make sure that kids are engaged in their learning, and that they want to bring their device to school, and they treat it like pen and paper. You wouldn't forget pen and paper.
If you want to learn more about this really interesting topic, check out Blake's article in the latest ETS.
Tweet of the week comes from the team at Parent Paperwork, who shared an article from ETS on Twitter. Great article from ETS on optimising education administration. Thanks guys. We are constantly blown away about some of the latest technologies now available to schools. Technologies that not only automates processes, but gives school admin staff a chance to contribute more meaningfully with their time by killing the paper shuffle.
Okay, so we really just want to take our hats off to the Sphero, this little guy right here, because it puts a big emphasis on fun for entry-level coding in the classroom. What we love about it, it gives you instant gratification. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or master code writer to put together a script and get the Sphero to do whatever you want it to do. Sphero is remarkable. It's quick, it's agile, it's colorful. It's a lot of things to a lot of people, but it's also tough and durable and idiot-proof. You can use it across pretty much the entire curriculum. We've seen Sphero incorporated into the class in art, in music, dip it into Paint and program it to write Chinese characters. The learning opportunities for kids who are new to code is endless. Plus, you're never alone. You have access to the Spark program, which can give you an exciting crash course in programming. There's free lessons you can download and a huge community of students and educators on Twitter that are sharing how they're using Sphero in new and exciting ways. Get in touch with the team at Macintosh Addict. They really are some of the coolest education suppliers around, and they have a Sphero education pack just for schools that gives you the best introduction to the most fun your students are going to have this year.
Yeah, the 21st century classroom is a connected classroom. So you're not limited by distance. You're not limited by information. You can have access to information from anywhere and access to that information anytime.
What sorts of things are you seeing based on the discussions you're having with teachers here?
The main trend is that the student is leading the drive in technology, wanting to use their own devices. What that does is it means that the schools have to really think about how they're going to deliver their teaching and learning to those students to enable them to sort of do it their own way. It's a major trend in the way schools are having to look at their learning outcomes.
What was the biggest thing that you've shoved up your nose?
Probably a pencil.
Pencil? The whole pencil?
No. Just half the pencil. Yeah, I was a little kid. Yeah.
Ellen, what's sillier, a barrel full of monkeys or a bum full of Smarties?
Oh, a bumful of Smarties.
Thank you again for joining us in this episode of ETS V News. We can't wait to see you again. But until then, if it's about technology and it's in education, we want to know.